Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 108 of the WP Café show with me, Mark Wilkinson, and my colleague, Keith Devon. This is the weekly show where we chat everything WordPress, usually related to stuff that we're working on. We're a two-person agency. We also build some WordPress products. So we tend to have a sprinkling of different things that we're up to, and we tend to discuss those during the course of these shows. So today we've got a bit of a quicker episode today because we're kind of busy with go live and projects coming to the end and stuff, but we didn't want to miss out, so we thought we'd get on and just do a quick episode. We've got 4 little topics to cover, and let's get into them. But first of all, how are you, Keith? Hope you're well. How's your week been?
Very busy. I think this is the busiest I've felt at work in at least a year, potentially longer. So just trying to get this site finished really. Before the imminent launch date. So kind of don't even have time to go and get my haircut. So yeah, no, it's good though. I've been quite motivated by it. I
Good.
Like sometimes in my past, when I feel like things are getting on top of me, or like there's like I feel a bit overwhelmed, like I kind of run away from it. I try to hide from it and distract myself and procrastinate. But I felt really motivated to get it done, and just putting the hours in, and so I'm enjoying quite a lot of it as well. Just seeing something that we've built come together always gives me a sense of satisfaction.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's been full on. I'm looking forward to calming down a little bit, but I've enjoyed it. How about you?
Good. Similar. It's been really busy week. A little stressful at times, I must admit. Some things I had to do that I haven't had to do before, and just in various things with these projects and with other things as well. So, but yeah, it's good to be busy. It's good to have things to do. So that's got to be a good thing. We've got 4 things to chat through today. Hopefully, if we get time. As I said, we need to be wrapped up by 2:00, so it's only going to be a half an hour episode at the most. We're going to talk about navigation menus. Very interesting with the block editor and full site editing. We're going to talk about server updates, something that completely caught me aback this week, which was worrying, but finally got it fixed. And query block. We've got a bit about the query block. We're using that quite a lot heavily in this build, and there are some sort of nuances and things around it that we've learnt. And a new plugin that we are be launching. We've mentioned it before, and it's kind of ready for testing, so that's interesting as well. So let's get started away with the navigation block straight away, or the navigation menu. So the current site we're working on has quite a different, complex menu, which I know it's taken Keith quite a considerable amount of time to build. And it means that we've had to do it slightly differently. As probably everybody knows that's listening, the actual navigation block in WordPress is pretty poor, and therefore we've tended to go for something different. So you've done most of this work, Keith, so I'll let you introduce it to our listeners and explain what you've done and where the sort of problems were.
I mean, as always, it's kind of difficult to describe this stuff with words. I'd love to be able to just show it. I know we're on YouTube, but people also listen to this as a podcast, so I'll do my best. But the menu, it's quite an extensive menu. So it's 4 levels deep. So this is the main menu of the website. It's going to be, this isn't my choice. It's going to be hidden by default behind like a little burger icon on all screen sizes, and then it slides in as a like panel whenever you click the icon. And then, like I said, there's kind of 4 levels to it, which is quite a lot for a main menu, I would say. And the way it's very interactive in terms of like you initially just see the first level, and then you can either click those links or you can click the expand icon. Then a second panel kind of comes in and shows the rest of it. And the 3rd and 4th levels are hidden within little kind of accordions. So lots and lots going on. So yeah, I didn't really know how to approach it to start with, but I thought I just need some markup to work with, and then I'm just gonna like start building this with like my JavaScript and CSS. So I think I initially used the page list block, and that was a stupid. I don't know why I did, but I knew it would give me like a structured menu, basically, like sub lists and things like that. And I think I didn't use the navigation block. Yeah, I didn't use the navigation block because it already had too much behavior built in, like show and hide and like the sub menus and stuff. I was like, I don't want to have to be like overriding all that stuff. So I tried that first and thought this is going to be too complex because it already does too much badly. And so I decided I'll use the page list block, and then that'll give me the markup I need, and I'll just work from that. So that's what I did. And then I realized, obviously eventually I can't actually use the page list block because I can't tell it what should be in it, if that makes sense. So we were like, well, we can use classic menus. We know there's a way to enable classic menus. So that's what we did. So I swapped out all the JavaScript and CSS that I'd written originally for the page list block, updated it to work with the classic menu block, which we have used. It's a plugin from Jonathan Harris. Yeah. Spaced Monkey, if you know him, kind of on socials. So we use that to give us a block, and that's what we've done. And it's working quite well. There was lots of technical little intricacies. Maybe we'll get into the details of that one day. I'd love to do like a full kind of debrief of this project at some point. Probably not as like one episode, but like lots of little bits of content, like how we built this bit, because there's been loads of little interesting technical challenges. Mark's just put up on the screen there. So the classic menu block is at wordpress.org/plugins/classic-menu-block. If you want to check it out. But we don't think that enables the menu item to actually build the menus, do we?
Yeah, so we have to re-enable classic menus. It's just add theme support type thing that you need to do. But it doesn't appear that plugin does it, which is a bit strange. I would have thought that would do it as well
weird.
as doing this block selection. So it just gives you a block, and then it just lets you choose a classic menu that you've made in the classic menu section, basically, which is quite nice. Which is good. So
I've got more challenges. But go on.
So major? I know it took. I think the concept of the menu and the panels just took a long time to build. So I think that's that's a different story almost, but. What were the sort of challenges in terms of the block editor and the full site editing? Sorry, in this particular thing.
Where do we put that block? Is for me the main one. So we've got this classic menu block, and I mean, I started off just doing everything in the footer because I just wanted things kind of out of the way, and everything's going to be hidden by default. So. That's fine, but then we thought, well, it probably should be at the top of the page because it is the main navigation for the site. You could argue that maybe it shouldn't be actually, but anyway, that's the question: is where does this go in the block editor? Do I put it in the header pattern template part or the footer template part? Do we load it in a different way? It just doesn't seem to be a sensible place to put it because it doesn't look good in the editor because you've got to open it. It's got all that interactivity, which doesn't work at all in the editor. Yeah, and do you want it to work in the editor? I just don't think you do. So, but then you also don't want it to get in the way of the header content. Like when you edit in a header, you don't want all this stuff there that just doesn't look right, do you? So that's a bit of a challenge. Yeah. How have you solved that? When I open the header, I haven't looked at the header template. No, because what do I actually see? You don't see it. Right. It's there, but because all my CSS and JavaScript like hides it. And then opens it on click. Like you never see it, so you can see it. You can see it in the classic menu block in the list view. Good. It's there, so I can remove it if I need to or whatever, and click on it there and change its settings and stuff. Not that we do, but it's a similar problem, isn't it? Because we in the header there's a search icon, and the UI is when you click on the search icon, it shows a pop up of a box that says, type your search into here. You do that, and then it takes you to the normal WordPress search results page. Yeah. And it brought up the question of where do we put that pop-up? Because it can be a block. It's just a group with a color with a search box in the middle. But where do you put that? So I think you've put it in the footer,
And now every time, which is the right thing to do, and every time you now edit the footer template, you've got this big pop-up at the box at the bottom that doesn't actually show in the footer. So it's a bit confusing for editors. They're like, well, this I don't see, but it's in the footer. So that sort of stuff. How do you handle that, I wonder?
I think we've got something on our Trello board actually at the minute saying there's this weird menu in the footer and I was like, well, that's it's probably one of those that I've been testing or something. I don't know, but so that's not obvious to me where that stuff should go and then what it should look like in the editor. Like when I'm editing the header template part, like should I be able to see the menu somehow? Should it work like it does on the front end? Just nothing really. It's fine because it's working, but it could be confusing for
definitely. You almost need something
developers
somewhere that you can include blocks on pages that don't get shown when you're editing, like the header and I don't know how to describe it. Like that search thing, like you can put it somewhere so that you can edit it.
Yeah, like overlays of some kind or something.
Yeah,
something that doesn't sit in the flow.
It's a difficult one that. So
it
works. Tricky. It's just not ideal, is it, in the editor? Because you want to see it in the editor because you might want to edit it. So you can't hide it completely because then you wouldn't actually be able to edit it, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that's
how anyway.
We've talked a lot about this already, but I used ChatGPT a lot to help me with the JavaScript.
Yep.
And it was an interesting one because obviously it does an amazing job, but I spent a lot of time trying to fix things that it got wrong that subsequently then I didn't understand because I hadn't written the code. So it would have been a really interesting. You can't kind of possibly do this really, but I'd love to split myself in two. Like one of me uses ChatGPT and one of me does it from scratch and see who actually gets to the end because the ChatGPT me would make loads of progress really quickly and then get stuck. And I wonder if the one that's just built it from scratch would actually get there, like just step by step, like tortoise in the hare kind of thing. So that was interesting again.
Not sure. Got a comment which is interesting. Courtney, thank you for your question. Are you surprised at how many technical challenges you faced with the page builder? I assume you mean like full site editing. Would clients be able to build their own websites successfully? So this is an interesting one.
The question the first time,
I think. Good question. So we were just saying this morning, actually, we've been looking, the site's nearly about to go live. It'll probably go live early next week. So we've just been sort of clicking around, checking things over. And the client has done such a good job at making all the pages and the content. Now, obviously, we've tried to put things in place to help them do that. But they have, like, some of the pages look beautiful and they've done all of them, in terms of adding the content in and making the right buttons and groups and columns and media text rows and so forth. They do look really nice. That's a little bit different to building a whole website, though. They're actually just in the editor building the pages. So I think for me, to answer the question, would your clients be able to build their own websites? No, I don't think they would.
I think they would.
They possibly would with some help, but they wouldn't be able to do it from scratch. I mean,
I think they would, but it's really not easy.
Yeah.
Like, in the same way, I could probably build my own house, but I don't have any of the skills to do it today, and it'd be a lot quicker to get a builder to do it. I could probably learn things on YouTube and whatever, but it's not, loads of it just is not intuitive. I don't know how a non-WordPress, non-techie person would come into the block or the current state of WordPress and build a site from scratch. That maybe a super simple one, but
yeah, I think super simple one. But I think that's probably another discussion. Like it is. You need some knowledge, but then I guess you need some knowledge for everything, don't you? So it's the different.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but I did want to echo what you said there, Mark. I was very surprised at how well the site was coming together, considering most of the content has been added by our clients who are not experienced at all using the block editor.
Yeah,
I think that's a bit of a testament to the attention that we give that process. We try to make things as easy as possible. That's been a real success.
Content population success down to the fact that you use things like block styles over CSS classes. outcome different. Yeah, that is part of the reason. Yeah, definitely for sure. We've done a lot to try and help them make it a success.
And the default styles that we've talked about in previous episodes, and the custom blocks where we've needed custom blocks, and all the patterns that we've set up that needed to be set up.
Yeah,
all that kind of
definitely
stuff.
It's helped. Yeah. Which is nice. It's nice to see the work we've done to try and make it easier is actually paying off, because the content and the pages look nice. So that's something that's been nice to see. Quickly going to move on because I'm conscious of time. So quickly going to go to the query block. So we have used the query block extensively on this site for like grabbing the latest 3 things and putting them in this section. Obviously on the home page for latest news, for the archive pages, all sorts of things have used the query block. And you came up with a bug, actually, that seems to be a bug, actually, for a couple of reasons. So do you want to explain what that was? Because I know it was a bit of a pain.
Yeah. Yes. So on which page? What exactly was I trying to do?
It was the what's on.
Oh yeah, I was just trying to grab the latest latest post.
Yeah,
that's what. So I had a grid of like loads of different things, like galleries and blogs and videos and events and blah blah blah. And one of the grid items is just the latest post, one single latest post. So I added a query loop block. I set it all up nicely, and I set the posts per page to 1, and everything looked good in the editor. And then I looked on the front end, and I had 4 posts. What? And I actually had the second block. I used this exact same query, but with an offset of 1. I couldn't use the same query loop for technical reasons, but I wanted the first post and the second post. And it also had 4. And I was like, what the hell? And we were talking about it, and you said, and it's something that I'd kind of thought about but hadn't tested. You were like, I bet it's something to do with sticky posts.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you know what? I was like, I think you're right. I think you're right. And we tested it, and it was exactly that. So what was happening? So in the query loop, there's a setting called sticky posts, and it has 3 potential options: include, exclude, or only. And the default is include, so I hadn't touched anything. So what was happening on the back end? It was actually, this is the weird thing. On the back end, it was doing it right as far as what I wanted the behavior to be. It was grabbing the latest post. On the front end, it was grabbing all the sticky posts and the latest post. So there's a definite bug there in terms of like the editor and the front end not behaving the same way. So there's a bug there. But there's also, that is actually how the query loop or the WP query, I think, is supposed to work with sticky posts. You're supposed to show the sticky posts and then show everything after.
Well, I just think that's ludicrous.
Work. Okay, I agree. But what's interesting is that I think in the WP query, there is like an ignore option or something like it.
Yeah.
But that isn't in the UI. And so eventually I was posting about this on Blue Sky, saying this is kind of what's happening. Mark, who's watching along, Mark Halsmead, hello. He was like, yeah, I think that sounds like a bug or whatever. I then looked it up. I did some more testing on like a completely blank install, exact same behavior. Looked it up. There is an GitHub issue. It looked like nothing was happening with it, but there is actually a related pull request. So they are fixing it. And this apparently it could be something to do with the God, we're 10 minutes already. It could be something to do with the REST API and what it allows you to do with sticky posts. And that is why the ignore option was left out, because it doesn't work with the REST API for whatever reason.
Okay.
So the reason that option is, it's crazy. But
I think for the blog, if you say I want to show 1 post, you should only ever get 1 post. So if you say include sticky post, then that will be a sticky post. That's fine, I think. And if you say exclude them, then it shouldn't be no sticky post, and you'll still get 1 post. But to get 4 when you've said 1 is just completely confusing for a user. And I know it uses the WP query behind the scenes, I would imagine, and therefore it's following what that does. I'd argue that's perhaps incorrect as well. But anyway, I think they've got to fix it for a user point of view. If you say I want to show one post, you get 4. That is just
and the language of the options is confusing. So the default should almost be sticky posts first. So that could be your default. And then it could be something like include, which is just include the sticky posts in amongst all the other posts, and then exclude, don't show the sticky posts, and then only show the sticky posts. Those are the 4 options you need. And it's just naming them correctly is probably important, like you say.
Yeah, that's true. Mark said he doesn't trust you. He's just tested this in 2 installations and he can confirm that it's definitely a bug. So anyway, there you go. It is bug. So it looks like they're on it because it has some chatter on GitHub and things. Maybe that's going to come into either 6.8 or maybe a fix in a release coming. Who knows?
Like 6.8, yeah.
I would imagine 6.8. I would imagine that's not something they're going to throw into a point. Is it not a point release? Whatever they call it, like 6.7.2 or whatever. Query block. So if you're using it, just be aware that's what happens. Ben, hi Ben, thanks for joining us. Have you tried AQL? I assume that means Advanced Query Loop. Yes, it's very good. I would highly recommend you having a look at it.
Is that the generate press one? No, or is that something different?
That's from Ryan. Someone. I can't remember his name. Sorry.
All right.
But it's very good, and it just gives you more options on the query loop block, like custom fields and taxonomies and all sorts of things. So it's worth looking at. And he's just released a new one.
Yeah, I was talking to Nick earlier, and he says Generate Press has the ignore option that we want in their query loop. So this is a known thing. Yeah.
Quick one from me. We've run out of time, but quick one from me. So I was doing some work on the server for this current client. We use SpinUp WP, not a sponsored thing, but we use it. It's really good. And in the back end of SpinUp, I was looking around. I can't remember what I was doing now, but I was trying to find something. And I noticed this server updates, critical server updates, non-security updates. And I was like, what are they? So I clicked it, and then it said, you've not run these since April 2023. I was like, oh my God, what have I done? So it turns out that SpinUp WP, probably rightly so, they only install what they consider critical security updates automatically on your server. And I know that because I get an email that says you need to reboot your server, which is fine. But they don't install the non-critical ones. Now, you could argue, and I don't know because I'm not an expert, but you just don't need them and you don't need to worry about this at all. You could just leave them. But I had a lot to run, so I followed the instructions to run them, which meant SSH into the server, which means a whole world of pain for me because I just don't get on with it and it doesn't like me. But I managed to log in and I managed to run them, which then proceeded to break the server because there was probably so many dependencies weren't there and so forth. So it took me a while with the excellent help of SpinUp WP support to fix that, reboot the server and get it up and running again. So just something, if you're using it, I literally didn't know I had to do this. I thought that they were done because I get the email saying there's been an update, reboot your server, but it's not. You do need to run those yourself. So running them regularly, and the support suggested once a month. I'm probably going to do it once a week, I think, just at the end on Friday morning, just a bit of a maintenance. Getting you to upgrade those is probably to run them is probably the best way. And as you're only doing a few, they're less likely to break because obviously you're not going from sort of like a really old versions to really new versions and things like that. So anyway, just something I thought I'd mention. And then the last thing is we mentioned our stats counter plugin on the last episode or the episode before. Then that is now on GitHub. If you go to the High Rise Digital GitHub, you'd probably be able to see it. And I'm currently just testing it. And I need to put some information on that page. I haven't got around to doing like a README yet and putting it on there, but that is there. So if you want to do a little stats count, it just counts up a number on the page when that block is in the browser window, isn't it? I think it is. And you can set like a duration on the block to say I want it to count up for 4 seconds or 2 seconds or whatever. So worth keeping an eye out if you're interested in that. Anyway, that's fine. Tim has made some comments. I always listen to Tim when it comes to security and service. You do need them. And not running regular, this is a quick way to break your site. As I found out, Tim, thank you. So do run them regularly. I will be doing them once a week. Tim says you can set them automatically. I did notice that on the documentation for SpinUp, but I kind of assumed that because they weren't doing that, it wasn't the right thing to do. So I've left it as a manual thing for now. Who knows? I might change that at some point in the future. But everything's back to normal, so I'm just going to leave it alone for a while anyway.
Good.
Right, we've got a meeting, an important one.
We do.
Quick one today. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. We will be, I'm saying that, I better have a quick look. We should be back next week.
I think so.
It's in the diary. So we will see you at 1:30 on Friday next week. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next week.
See you soon. Bye.